talking everything once a month grocery hauls. I have gotten so many questions and so many requests to do this video, just to answer questions, give some tips, tricks, how I manage, how I put everything together. So I asked you guys one final time this morning on my Instagram. If you don't follow me over there, you definitely should. That's where I take all of my questions. If I have questions for you guys, or if I ever do a Q&A, I ask there. So it's at Cassie and Crew. The link is always in the description. But I got another question yesterday about my once a month grocery hauls, and they were talking about how they really want to try it, or they've been trying it and they just can't seem to get it. They're always coming up short. They're not getting enough groceries. They don't know how to store everything, that it's so much harder than than I make it look, I guess, and they wanted me to give them some tips. So I sat down yesterday. I have 10 tips in front of me, and I didn't try to make 10 tips. That's just the number I came up with. So I have my little list right here. So if you see me looking down, that's what I'm looking at. But I'm going to go ahead and start with all of these tips. I'm going to try to put them in order so it makes sense. And then I'm going to try to make this video as short and concise, but with giving all the information that I want to get out across. So I hope that this video helped you guys, and let's go ahead and hop into all of these tips. So of course the first thing is your prep work. This is honestly where you're going to make or break your grocery haul. I can't see if you were to go wrong, it would be anywhere else. Like maybe in the grocery store if you underestimated what you needed, but that honestly just comes down to your prep work. So here is how I do my prep work. I have a video on this already. I did it a couple months ago. I'll link it up here and down in the description. It's how I make my meal plan. So if you're looking for a more in-depth on this specific topic, go ahead and check out that video, because that's a lot more in-depth than I'm going to be right here. Prep work always begins in my pantry and in my freezer and my fridge. I'm seeing what do I have left. I'm looking through my pantry, and as I'm clearing things out, maybe we have, I don't know, empty boxes in there or something. I'm clearing all that stuff out, but I'm also making mental notes. Like, what do I have? Do I have any noodles left? Do I have canned goods left? Like, what do I still have? Do I have some potatoes that are going bad? Because if I do, I'm probably going to need to plan a meal early in the month that involves potatoes so I don't waste them. So I hope that that makes sense. So my first step in the whole prepping process is cleaning out my pantry, my freezers, figuring out what I have to work with for the upcoming month. List. So when I sit down to make my grocery list, I actually make my food list first, my meals. And I'm someone who I only plan my dinners. I don't plan breakfasts or lunches. So I'm gonna sit down and plan all of my dinners. So I sit down and, like this month, June, there's 30 days. So I'm gonna label my paper 1 to 30, and I'm just gonna start writing meals. And that meal list is what I'll then base my grocery list off of. So I'm gonna sit down and make my meals 1 through 30. And once I have that list, I'll go ahead and make my groceries. So some people were saying, I cannot come up with 30 meals. How do you make 30 meals? And the truth is, I don't make 30 different meals every single month. We have meals that we eat once every 2 weeks, or maybe once a week. Like right now it's summer. Joel is grilling 6 days this month. So that's a little more than once a week. We have a grill day. Every Sunday or every Saturday I do a crock pot meal, because I deep clean my whole house on Saturdays. So I don't want to mess up my brand new clean kitchen. And after spending all day cleaning, I don't want to spend the night cooking. I just want to be able to relax. So crock pot meals every Saturday. Meal list, I always go to Joe and I'm like, what meals do you want to eat more than once this month? What meals maybe that we haven't had in a while that you want? Like this month, Joe's birthday is this month. So I'm like, do you want to go out to eat for your birthday? Do you want to grill for your birthday? How do you want to do it? Another thing coming up this month is Father's Day. What do you want to do for Father's Day? So just kind of asking him those questions, because that'll ultimately determine what my meal list looks like for the month. Another tip that I have is, I personally don't do this, but I know people who do and it really works for them, is when you're making your meal list, look at your calendar. And what I do is I just print off, I type in like June 2019 calendar, go into images on Google and I print one, and that's where I write all of my meals. Every Monday is pasta night. Every Tuesday we're doing a chicken meal. Every Wednesday we do turkey. So it's easier for some people that way to just categorize it like that, so like it's easier for them to plan. And I did that in the beginning, but I didn't end up liking it. Not for me. I just didn't like it. I don't know. There's no rhyme or reason. It just didn't really work for me. But I do know people who really love that. So that could be a really helpful tip for someone who's maybe feeling overwhelmed, is to just sit down and be like, okay, I'm going to sit down I'm going to look at my calendar here, and I'm going to make my list. And I know there's 4 Mondays this month, so I need 4 pasta meals. And there's 5 Tuesdays this month, so whatever, I need 5 chicken meals. And it can simplify it for you. I'm so sorry if you hear Ghost whining in the background. He's waiting for Joe to come home. But another thing is use Pinterest, use Google. I go to Pinterest every single month because this is something I struggle with, is coming up with 30 different meals. Even though I have meals that we eat twice or 3 times a month sometimes, I always end up on Pinterest looking up a meal, or on my saves board, and I'm like, okay, what's something I haven't made in a while? I need something new. So definitely use that. Definitely use Pinterest. I cannot recommend that enough. My second question that I get is, how do you keep things from going bad? And that is my freezer. I freeze a lot of stuff. You guys watch some of my grocery hauls, you guys know I go through probably 15 pounds of cheese every single month. We like cheese, we use it a lot. I freeze all of it and take it out when I need it. Freeze cream cheese. I freeze cream cheese all the time if I need that in recipes and I planned that recipe for later in the month. Just throw it in the freezer, take it out when you're ready to cook that recipe, and it'll be good. What I end up doing is I get these really big packages of like ground turkey or even like pork chops and stuff, and while it's still fresh from the store, I'll take it out of the package and I'll into each meal. So I know if, like, for example, if I need 9 ground turkey meals that month, I know I need 3 packages of meat from Aldi, and I'll cut each package of meat into 3 sections. So I have my 9 meals, but I only had to buy 3 packages, and then I'll just cut them up and put them into Ziploc bags, and then I just throw them right in the freezer in the Ziploc bags, and then when I need them, I can grab them. And then sometimes if I'm cooking a meal that needs more than maybe, you know, a small section of meat, I'll leave them whole, because I know, like, some meals, for example, where I need the whole pound is like if I'm doing chili, I want a whole pound of meat. If I'm doing tacos, I want a whole pound. Sloppy joes, things like that, I know I want to keep the package whole. So I'll just remember, like, you know, I can't use this whole package because I need it for other meals. So just planning ahead like that can really help, and it can save space in your freezer if you're someone who only has like a freezer on top of your fridge. If you take anything you can out of the package, put them into Ziploc bags. I do the same thing with like chicken breasts, chicken thighs. I section them into what I'm going to need for each meal, and it saves you a ton of space. Another question I get is, how do you keep your produce from going bad? And honestly, you can't. There's no like magic wand to keep your produce fresh. I just know meals that require produce, I need to plan early in the month. There are so many months where I was planning tacos in like the last week of the month, and I'm like, okay, well, I don't have tomatoes anymore. My lettuce, I don't have lettuce anymore. So I've learned now that I need to plan tacos for the first week of the month, so I still have that fresh produce. Another thing is with berries, like people always ask, like, how do I keep your fruit from going bad because you get so much fruit? And the truth is, I don't. It's just, I know, and my girls know, that we eat things that are going to go bad quicker first. So we eat bananas, berries, watermelon, cantaloupe, things like that. We eat all that in the beginning of the month, and then towards the end of the month, when those things are gone, that's when we start eating the apples, the oranges, things like that, because those take way longer to go bad. They kind of sustain themselves in the fridge longer, so that's how we solve that issue. Tips would be plan for convenience meals. I have learned within the last few months not to plan my convenience meals on my actual meal calendar. And what I mean by that is, my convenience meals are meals where it's late and my kids need to be fed now, and I need a quick, easy meal. I've learned, this saves me money because instead of running through fast food, I have some convenience meals in the freezer or in the fridge or in the pantry or whatever. But you're going to want those emergency pizzas. You will be happy that you have them. So my biggest tip would be find out what your convenience meals are, whether they be hamburger helpers, maybe it's breakfast for dinner, maybe it's the pizzas, maybe it's chicken tenders and french fries. Have some of those meals in your freezer and do not plan them in your meal calendar. Just don't. Because if you need them and you had already planned them, you already used them probably, right? So you need to not plan them in your calendar. I've learned this over the last 2 months or so. I don't plan them in my calendar and then I just use them when I need them and it's fine. Say it's like the 20th of the month and on the 20th I planned spaghetti. But maybe I don't want to cook spaghetti. Maybe it's been a long day and I want to put in a pizza. Well, then guess what? I'll put in a pizza and tomorrow I'll make that spaghetti. So everything just kind of gets pushed back a day. Or maybe I won't cook it at all. Maybe it's something I'll save for next month. So it's just plan for convenience meals. You will be so happy that you have them. Ask me, once I make my meal list, how do you take that and make it into a grocery list? So when I make my meal list, I have all 30 or 31 meals laid out. I'll then say, okay, for tacos, I need taco shells. I need whatever meat I'm using. I need some taco seasoning. And I just will get a second piece of paper and I'll draw a line right down the middle. And I'll have Walmart on one side and Aldi on the other. And I know now what store I get what item from. So I know I get my taco shells from Aldi because they're cheaper. Or I get, I get my Fig Newtons from Walmart instead of Aldi because I get more from Walmart for less money. So it's kind of things like that where I just know now what I get from what store. So I'll just go down my meal list and figure out, okay, what do I need for this recipe? And that's where I'll go ahead and make my Walmart list and my Aldi list. I really hope that makes sense to you guys. But that's how I do it. That's what makes sense to me. It's the easiest for me that way. And it's to the point now, honestly, I've been doing this exact system for over a year now. And it's to the point where I don't even really need to make a grocery list anymore. Not necessarily for Aldi, definitely not Aldi, but I will still make a Walmart list because I place my order online now that my Walmart has the online grocery pickup, which is amazing. But now I don't really make my Aldi list anymore because I really need to make my Aldi list anymore. I can just bring in my list of meals and I'll be like, okay, I know what I need for this meal. I know what I need for this meal. And then if I need anything in bulk, like my meats, I always need multiples of. Obviously cheese is something I always need multiple of. I'll make a little tally list up in the corner and I'll be like, okay, I need 6 bags of cheese. I need 2 bags of chicken. I need 2 packages of pork chops. I'm trying to think of what my list was this month. And then I can just look at my bulk items up in the corner there, my little chicken scratch notes. And that's what I do for my bulk items. And everything else I can kind of look at and kind of just know what I need. But that's because I've been doing this for so long. So definitely make your list and make it as specific as you possibly can, especially in the beginning. You'll be really happy that you did. Another tip that I have is make your list over a couple of days. If you're making your grocery list or your meal list, in the beginning, this used to take me days. I would start like the week before the month was over and I would start making my meal list, my grocery list, things like that. It took me a lot longer to make 30 meals. It just did. I needed more time to think and process and get the list down, and that's totally okay. So do it over a couple days if you need to. It doesn't seem like as big of a task then if you're doing it little increments at a time. And then that gives you time to find more recipes, different things like that. But definitely get your husband involved or your kids involved if they're old enough to have opinions on what they want to eat. I always ask Joe, like, what do you want to eat this month? Are there any meals that maybe we haven't had in a while that you want? Are there meals that I've been cooking too much that you don't want? Like, let me know what you want. And usually Joe doesn't really care. But there are some times where he's like, you made this one meal last month and I didn't really like it. So I'm like, okay, scratch it. We won't cook it anymore. Or maybe it's the opposite. Maybe I tried a new meal last month and he loved it, so he wants me to cook it 2 or 3 times this month. You know, who knows? So definitely get your husband and your kids involved, because the process will be a lot easier that way. The next thing is slowly make new meals or add meals to your arsenal. Because when I first moved out, I didn't have as many meals as I have now under my belt. I had probably like, I don't know, 10 meals maybe that I was really confident in and could make. And that's totally fine. I would just repeat those 10 meals. It made it kind of boring, but you slowly add, you try new things, try new recipes. That's where Pinterest comes in for me. Love Pinterest. That's where I get a lot of my meals from. You could even call like your grandma, maybe she has this really good dish that you only eat at like Christmas or Thanksgiving or something, and maybe you want the recipe so you can kind of make it more and put it in your meal plan. Do that or whatever. There are ways you can build up your arsenal. So don't think that you need 30 or 31 meals, because you definitely don't. Meals that we definitely eat more than once a month. Some of those being spaghetti. We grill a ton right now. Come fall time, like chili is big, soups are big. So there are definitely meals that we'll eat more than once. So in reality, I usually probably only end up making probably like 20 or 25 different meals every month. It's just how you want it. I don't think I've ever really mentioned this, but we do fill-in hauls kind of when and where we need them. I do leave a little bit of room in my grocery budget every month in case we need to do a fill-in haul. We usually always end up having to, the main thing that we need to end up going back for is always bread. We do have a chest freezer, but I fill that now that my kids are getting bigger and they eat more. We just need more space. So I can't fit, you know, 6 or 7 loaves of bread in there like I would need to last us the whole month. So in the beginning of the month, I'll usually get 2 loaves of bread, and then going back somewhere around the middle of the month to pick up bread. It's something that we always run out of. We just don't have the room to store it in the beginning of the month. So usually about halfway through the month, that's when we need to go back and get a couple more loaves of bread for the freezer, and maybe like another gallon of milk or something like that that we kind of flew through. It just kind of depends. So I would say if that's something you know you need the fresh produce in the middle of the month, don't hate on yourself if you have to go back to the store and pick up a couple of things. I still do that all the time. I run out of things. I don't plan accordingly. It happens. There are things that I sometimes forget. It is what it is. It's not that big of a deal. Don't beat yourself up if in the middle of the month you need to go back and pick up a couple more things. It's like leaving you on a note here is keep trying. Don't beat yourself up. It's hard. It takes time. It's something that you need to learn, and what I do might not work for you. You might keep trying it, and maybe making your meal list and then making your grocery list isn't something that works for you. Maybe you need a different system. Maybe what doesn't work for me will work for you. Maybe having pasta nights on Mondays and chicken on Tuesdays and whatever, takeout on Fridays. Maybe that's something that works for you. It's just not something that my family likes, but maybe it's something that'll really make this simpler for you. But I really hope this made sense. Just don't give up on yourself. You can do it. Keep trying. Keep giving it a go. It definitely gets easier. Like I said, within the last 4 or 5 months, I've came a long way. I've learned a lot, especially in the once a month grocery haul. It takes time. It definitely takes time. It's not necessarily easy in the beginning. But I really hope all 10 of these things really made sense to you. They helped kind of break these down. I know I'm still going to get questions and comments and a ton of feedback. I always do when it comes to these videos. I never thought that these videos would become so popular and would raise so many questions. So I'm really grateful for that. I'm happy that I can produce some content that you guys are really gaining from. So let me know down below if you're still confused on things. If you want me to make another video, I definitely can. But I will link down below all of my recipe videos. I have some crock pot recipes and a couple other recipes. I'll link those playlists down below. I will also link my how I budget and meal plan for my family of 4. I did that back in January, so it's a couple months old, but the process is still exactly the same. And that's what I'm explaining to you in this video. So I'll link that video down below for you guys as well. Along with any of my grocery hauls, I'll link that playlist down below as well. So lots and lots of links in the description, but good content for you guys to go binge watch if this is something that you're really interested in. I hope this video helped you guys. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. I will definitely be doing more meal planning, more meal prepping, and answering any questions down below in the comments. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram. It's @CassieandCrew, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.
Don't play with me, baby. It's now or never.